I don't hear it. Her mic?
Is the microphone working?
Here we go. Talk.
Okay, thank you. That's working very well. Thank you.
Jai Baba, please welcome Cathy Riley to talk about her Dilruba days.
Thank you, Baba. It's wonderful. Thank you. This is a treat to be here. And I just feel so happy to reunite with so many old friends and meet new ones. And I'm just so happy seeing all the little kids here. It's really a treat. There's a real continuation. It's wonderful. So I was, oh yeah, see, there, oh good, see, there they are, the young ones, yay. Okay. So, very, very short intro. In 1972, my best college friend, Annie Weld, and I had a very strong experience at Annie's older sister, Catherine Weld's wedding to Goodwin Harding, and we very strongly knew Baba was our master, hitchhiked to Myrtle Beach, and the first time I met Elizabeth Patterson, since I'm talking about my years with Elizabeth Patterson, Kitty Davy, and Margaret Krask, is that Elizabeth Patterson, hearing that 23-year-old Annie and Cathy were at the center and we had hitchhiked to Myrtle Beach from Boston, she told us she wanted to see us, and we went to Dilruba, and she sat us down and very forcefully said, "Now, I hear that you have hitchhiked from Boston to Myrtle Beach." And we went, that was part of our life, We had hitchhiked, anyway, okay, so, yes, we said yes, and she said, "I want you to promise me that you will never hitchhike again. Meher Baba has enough trouble running the universe without having to take care of two irresponsible young women risking life and limb on the highway. Promise me you will never hitchhike again." Okay, that was Elizabeth Patterson. A few days later, Annie and I were sitting in the original kitchen, and we had come to Baba through what I now consider occult, lights going off, lights going on. Nobody had turned them off, nobody had turned them on, so we were very involved with all that hooey-wooey, I call it now. But Baba used that to hook us. But we were in the original kitchen, and I started writing all these, what I later heard was called automatic writing, and I was assuming Baba was coming through, and I was ascending to higher realms of consciousness through Baba's messages flowing through my pen. And all at once the phone rings, when there used to be, the 6213 number around the corner there, and I went to answer it. It was Kitty looking for someone. And when I couldn't find the person, she says, "Oh, tell me, dear, what are you doing?" And so I decided to boast to her that I was ascending to higher realms through automatic writing. I just said, "Baba's coming through, and I'm writing these wonderful messages." And she went, "Hoop, hoop." Remember how she would hoot, those of you who knew? Oh, no. That's not Baba's way. No, not at all. That's lower animal magnetism. No. Take a cold shower, take a walk on the beach. No. Lower animal magnetism, that's not Baba's way. So Elizabeth took away the hippie life, and Kitty took away the hooey-wooey. And those were, the two things that sort of brought us to the center. Annie left actually to marry her future husband. I left for a few years, and then I came back in 1979, and I have to be very thankful to Jeff Wolverton, who knew that the woman helping at Dilruba was leaving. Carrie Bills was going back to Texas. And so Jeff said, you know, if you would go and knock on the door and ask Elizabeth Patterson if you could volunteer, and if they liked your work, they would hire you. So I gathered my courage and knocked on the door, and Elizabeth came to the door, and I said, Miss Patterson, I'm here, you might need some help, and I'm happy to volunteer. And so I began volunteering, and after 4 or 5 months, they decided I might work out. And I was called into Elizabeth's bedroom, and she very proudly told me that they would pay me a very small amount of money, which it was fine with me. You know, she was going to pay me. And I said, great, thank you so much. I would love. No, she said, yes, do you need to be paid? And I was so wanting to work there that I said no. But actually, at that time, I didn't have a job, and I was living on food stamps. To be able to just work there, volunteer there. And so overnight I thought I really wasn't telling the truth. So I went to Jane Haynes and said, you know, I really need to be paid. And she talked to Elizabeth, and then I was called in and assumed, you know, Elizabeth said, we are happy to pay you. So that was just a wonderful beginning, which, as I said, I have to thank Jeff Wolverton for suggesting, because it ended up from 1979 until 1991, when Kitty passed. I was there for 12 years working for Elizabeth, who lived until the end of 80, so for a year and a half with Elizabeth, and then, of course, Kitty lived to be 100 and a half and died at the end of 1991, so those were incredible years. My first job that I was given by Elizabeth was to take care of Jimmy the turtle. So I had heard that Charles Haynes had found the turtle and almost run him over, and then somehow he ended up giving the turtle to Elizabeth, and there was Jimmy in a little Pyrex dish with a little rock. He would be placed on the rock, and I had to change the water so that his water was warm and not cold and not too hot. So Elizabeth gave me these very detailed instructions and placed in that little Pyrex dish, and then the dish was placed by the exhaust of the refrigerator so that the hot air from the bottom of the refrigerator would warm his little reptilian body. And she was very happy to have me take care of Jimmy. And then the other exciting part of that work was that every couple of days, Elizabeth said, you know, he needs a treat. And she showed me how to feed Jimmy the turtle ice cream. So we'd place the turtle on the enamel table, and Jimmy is placed on the table, and he's sort of, you know, he's looking around. He's not afraid. He's not in a shell. He knows something happy is about to happen. And then the vanilla ice cream comes out of the freezer, and he knows he's ready. His beak opens, and you shove the ice cream in, and whoom, and the ice cream is all around his little beak, you know. So one day when I was feeding Jimmy his ice cream, Margaret Krask walked in, and she said, oh yes, you must be writing to your parents that you're doing very spiritual work in Myrtle, feeding the turtle ice cream. The daily routine at Dilruba was very varied. Sometimes we would have to cook meals, cleaning, taking Elizabeth and Kitty to errands and to appointments. There were also like endless phone calls we had to field. We also had to make everybody, you know, 4, 5, 6 people waiting on the front porch there to see Kitty, talking to them, helping with correspondence, and there was a little bookstore in Kitty's office. some of you know are you a book or a problem? You've probably heard that one. But, helping people with books. For the most part, it's hard to describe, but I would say it was very difficult working there because it would just feel like you could never do anything right. Once you were on the inside, I don't know how to describe it. I guess you would say, I've heard the word hammering, this work would begin on the ego. So for instance, I would come to work, Elizabeth would call me, and I'd go toward Elizabeth. Kitty would call me. And whoever you went to, the other was mad that you hadn't gone to them. So you couldn't win that way, So that happened very often. Those of us who worked there were always blamed for things that we didn't do. And after the first couple of times being blamed for something I didn't do and trying to explain my way out of it, I realized just give up and just smile and take the blame. And they seemed to be happy about that. Once after one of these episodes, my friend Lois Brager, who was working there, walked by me and some, hammering had gone on. And she looked at me and she said, agony. And she told me that was Daffy Duck's mantra. So that became our mantra. It just felt like agony. It's hard to describe, but it was a difficult job. And then but there were always, with the kicks, there were so many beautiful kisses that you just yearned to be there, to be with them when they would compliment you about something you had done right for a change, or something wonderful that they would share about Baba would be shared. And it was, it's hard to describe, but it was, I guess you'd say, an agony and an ecstasy at the same time, being with them. After Elizabeth passed at the end of 1980, Jane Haynes asked Lois and I to take turns staying a week on and a week off at night to be with Kitty. So there were years from 81, beginning of 81 until I married in 86, years of spending more intimate time in the evenings with Kitty. One of the things that would happen would be that unstable people would call in the middle of the night to tell Kitty that they were Meher Baba and, that they had a message for her. Or, these strange phone calls would come in. And we would try to intercept them so that Kitty wouldn't be woken up. We would try to grab the phone and tell the people to call tomorrow morning. And once Lois asked Kitty why there were so many unstable people that were connected to Baba, and she says, oh yes, well, no one else will take them. Another time, Lois asked, what would it be like to lead a normal life when one of these episodes happened? And Kitty said, well, you don't go to a perfect master. And once I asked Kitty how she could take it after one of these crazy days or nights or I can't remember what terrible thing had happened in that stretch of time. And Kitty said, yes, you have to be 100% dedicated to working at the center or you wouldn't be able to stand it. As I said, the kisses outweighed the kicks. And so I'd really like to share some of my favorite stories. And starting with Elizabeth, one day the phones were ringing off the hook. I was supposed to make lunch. The people waiting outside, and then I was asked to make a bed in the guest bedroom, somebody coming in that night. And I rushed in there and I short sheeted the bed so that I, bottom sheet, and then I put the coverlet on top, and I forgot the top sheet. And Elizabeth walked into the bedroom just as I was, I think probably swearing, because I was so upset and I had so much to do and I was wildly trying to get it done. And I said, oh, damn, I don't know if I said that under my breath. I hope I did. But anyway, I short-sheeted the bed, and have so much to do. And Elizabeth just very lovingly from this bed next door said to me, yes, that is what the spiritual life is like. Being poised, remaining poised in the midst of intense activity. And certainly that was what Elizabeth was like, because running the Meherana Center, oh my lordy. And she was always incredibly poised. One day, she wanted to go to the Cove because she knew that Darwin and Jean Shaw were coming and that Jean loved her little teapot, and she wanted to go see if there was a teapot that hadn't been cracked and that was in good shape in the Cove so that Jean could have her morning cup of tea. And I went with her later years. She wasn't driving as much, so I would accompany her as she did these daily duties. And we walked up the steps, and then I looked up and I saw that there was a weather vane on top of the Cove. It's now been taken away, but I said to Elizabeth, that's so interesting, that weather vane. I've never noticed it. And she said, yes, one has to be aware of every little detail. And I think that was one of the great gifts Elizabeth Patterson gave me, was attention to detail in service of others. I mean, she lived that so fully. Another time, she had me drive her to the lookout, and there was a woman named Hilda Dale who had been writing a book, and somehow Elizabeth Patterson knew that Hilda liked to work not at a desk, but sitting in bed. So she said, I want you to go get another pillow, so that Hilda has two pillows so that she can sit up in bed and write her book. Just something. And another time I heard, I think it was somebody else told me that she wanted to put a little rug on the floor in the winter so that the person coming in wouldn't have cold feet when they, got out of bed. One day, I was sitting in Kitty's book, I call it the book room, in Kitty's office, and looking for something for Kitty. Elizabeth Patterson walks in and sits in the seat where the newcomers come to, be greeted. And all at once it struck me as very funny that here I was sitting in the Kitty seat and Elizabeth Patterson was sitting in the newcomer seat. And so knowing that she liked me and that I could joke with her, I said, oh, I see you're a newcomer to the center. Do you have any questions? Sort of in a teasing way. And she says right away, no, dear, I don't have any questions. I only have answers. One day after her nap, she always wanted a cup of coffee, which I made and brought into her bedroom. And I was a little rushing so that I set it down on her bed, and the little, I think it was the cup, sort of jiggled a little bit, and there was a little instability happening. And I just made sure it was, the coffee wasn't spilling, and it was right there on her bed. And Elizabeth looked at me, she was sitting nearby on the bed, and she said, yes, dear, thank you. I like cafe au lait, not cafe au lit. And those of you who know French, and I knew a little, cafe au lait, coffee with milk, cafe au lit, coffee on the bed. So, she said, I don't want coffee on the bed, I want coffee with milk. And I said, oh, Elizabeth, I didn't know you could pun in French too. She says, yes, there are many things about me you don't know. One day she said, I really don't like the term. People in the community are saying that people who live nearby are the off-center community. Don't you think that sounds a little, I don't think she would use the word cracked, but whatever she would say. Doesn't that sound a little strange? She said, what do you like? Do you like the word nearby community? Don't you think that's a better word? And I said, oh yes, nearby is much better than off-center community. So that helped those of us in the community be, a little bit less, considered less cracked. Elizabeth Patterson had such a powerful personality, and of course, she was perfect for the role of, administrating the Baba Center. I would take her to errands, and one day I took her to a shop owner. I think shoes were being repaired, and then we went back to the car. I brought her back to the car, and there had been this slight altercation with the shop owner. And as I got Elizabeth into the car and shut the door and turned around, the shop owner said to me, under his voice, he said, if Elizabeth Patterson told you to go to hell, you'd gladly go. Kitty was such an incredible gift in so many ways for me, because I had been and I was a music teacher, and she had been a music teacher for many years, and she was so helpful. She was so interested in my teaching, and when I would come back from teaching, and she wanted to know all about what was happening. If there were problems with students, she would be very helpful about ways to mitigate difficult situations. She actually suggested to me one day, why don't you study choral conducting, and why don't you start a choir? And that actually did come to pass when my late husband Tom and I moved to Asheville, and I worked with Debbie Nordine. So I had choirs before that also. So she was very interested in that aspect, and she was always so intuitive that she knew that was something that I think liked to do and would be good at doing. And an amazing memory, one day she had found out that I was taking piano lessons at the local college, trying to get my skills back, and she wanted to hear me play the piano, and a local friend had a grand piano. She got permission. We went to this person's house, and she said, now play me that Schumann little piece, and I played my Soldier's March for her. And she said, now it needs to be a little bit more legato. Let me show you. And Davy sat down and played Soldier's March all the way through perfectly. And I said, Kitty, when was the last time you played that piece? And she said, it's 60 or 70 years ago, I guess. I mean, she was phenomenal, as you all know. She had a very wild habit of, putting the phone down in the middle of a conversation. Many of you have heard these stories about Kitty's phone conversation habits. So one day when I called her up, and she says, just a minute, and I hear the phone clunk, it goes down. She didn't hang up, she just put it on the desk. And then I decided I'd just wait to see what would happen. And I heard shoes leave the book room. I heard conversation at a distance, and all at once I hear the feet come back in, and then realizing there was somebody there, she had started to talk to this person in the office that had been waiting. Oh yes, tell me your name. Oh, Jim Smith. You've changed your name to Sherdil. You've taken a Persian name. Oh, how interesting. And what do you do? Oh, you drive a bus in Birmingham. How interesting. And then all at once, ooh, 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 ooh. And she picks up the phone. Hello, are you still there? I said, Kitty, I just thought I'd wait to see if you would remember that I had called. She said, I was just talking to Jim Smith, and he's changed his name to Sherdill, and he drives a bus in Birmingham, and well, he's much more interesting than you are. So one day after Love Alone Prevails, her autobiography had come out, I was there working when a letter came from Ward Parks that he loved her book. And so Kitty had me read this letter of compliment to Kitty and how wonderful her book was. And Kitty had so little ego in herself that she was so happy that this professor had, this college professor had told her that her book was wonderful. And she was really thrilled. And she said, oh, I've got to tell Lois. Lois helped her edit the book. I've got to tell Roz. Roz Taubman helped with the book also. It will be a real feather in their cup. So when I finished Dilruba Days, I got Tom I got a feather in a cup, and I put a feather in my cup for my book. And then when I helped Tom finish his book, More Light, I got another feather for Tom. So I have 2 feathers in my cup. Oh, yes. Every afternoon, Kitty would take a nap, and she would read Time magazine beforehand, and she would turn up her classical music and very loudly play it so that she couldn't hear the phones ringing. It was her way of kind of relaxing. So, Beethoven is blaring, and I noticed that she sometimes would bring Jimmy into the bedroom and put him on her bed. So at a certain point, she says, wake me up at 2:00. So I went in, and I see that the Time magazine had fallen over Jimmy, whose head was kind of slightly peeking out from under the magazine. And she woke up, and she says, oh, Jimmy, and she took the magazine off the turtle. And then he looked up at her, and she says, yes. There are 2 people in this house who love classical music, me and Jimmy. Elizabeth doesn't really like classical music that much. So that was a wonderful story about Jimmy. One day, I had decided I wanted to stay on the center for a couple of days, and so I had a few days off. I called the Gateway and got a couple days reservation, and I told Kitty I was going to go stay at the center. And she looked very happy, and she says, oh, yes, I've been told that a stay on the center can be frightfully beneficial. So that term is so wild that Lois and I will often, say, the play I just went to see was frightfully beneficial. I mean, it's just a term that we use, because, isn't there a wonderful phrase? Something is frightfully beneficial. Into her 90s, she would have her, she would be in the kitchen in the morning, and the door would be closed, and then she would have her morning tea, and sometimes I would come in to just make sure she was okay, and I noticed that she had the prayers on her little tea table, on the table, the tray near her tea, and I said, Kitty, you've got Baba's prayers there, and she said, yes, I've decided it's time to memorize them. And she was like 90 at the time, so that was wonderful that she was working on memorizing the prayers. Another, remembering about 90, she said when she was tired one day, she said, yes, I find at 90, one doesn't have the same energy that one has at 80. Oh, golly. Margaret Krask also had a tremendous influence on my musical life, because I had started to work there, and I was feeling very happy to be there. And I had decided I was going to be sort of a gopee and sort of never get married and sort of be single and celibate and, float around Dilruba and help and, Anyway, and Margaret came into the Kitty's book room when Kitty wasn't there, and for some reason I was again sitting at Kitty's in the chair there where she usually sat. And she said, and Margaret sat down in the visitor's chair, and she says, "So, dear, what do you like to do?" And I said, "Well, I'm helping Kitty and Elizabeth, and I'm so happy to be here." And Margaret looked kind of disgusted, and she said, "This place is a nunnery. This place is a house filled with old women. You're young, you're vital. What did you do before you came here?" And I said, "Well, I was a music teacher." And she says, "Go out and teach your music, and people will hear about Baba from you, and people will enjoy your work. This is a nunnery, no, 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 no." And it was interesting as I thought about it as the days went by, because I was realizing that something was missing, and I realized I loved teaching music, and it was something I enjoyed. And so I started looking around, and I was able to find work, and so I would teach part-time and help at Dilruba part-time, and that made me it really was much more fulfilling for me, so I was thankful for that advice from her. I just love one thing she said that I wrote down in my diaries that I put into my book. One day, there was a talk that Rick Chapman was giving, and I drove Margaret to the talk. Let's see. And Margaret was it was really wonderful what she said, and I wrote it down. "The program was wonderful. As we drove back to Dilruba, Margaret commented about Rick's contention that there were no special observances with Baba. Love was the most important thing, just loving him and loving others and longing for him more and more. That was the key." She remarked that all the intellectual Baba talk drove her mad. I said that I supposed loving was really much harder to do than dry intellectualizing, which comes so much more easily. Margaret agreed and continued, "We love him more and more because of Baba's incredible lovingness. The sweetness of his being continually overwhelms us, and we learn and unlearn through his active giving and constant compassion. Because Baba is love, we finally learn to love." Then she added, "With Baba, he helps you love more and more. He gives you more and more, so that you may love more and more as the years go by." That's what she had found. It became easier. This was so very comforting to me. I was very interested in Renaissance music, and so I often would do Renaissance fairs with my students, and we would have May Day, gatherings, and one of the songs I taught was The Shepherd's Hay, which is kind of an old English song, and I mentioned it to Margaret, and she started singing it, and we went dancing around the kitchen singing da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-da-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, so that was a happy memory. And then sometimes she would just get zany, which was so much fun, and she would start meowing. And she would come into the kitchen and just meow, and so I would meow back, and then we would do a little cat conversation. And one day she came in and she started, "Oh." So I just decided, what should I do but just woo. So we had a howling conversation. And then she stopped and she looked at me very seriously and she said, "I think we must have known each other when we were wolves." Oh, it's so nice to have some birds singing too. This is great. Elizabeth, as I think about mastery and servitude and what great role models these women were, Elizabeth's attention to detail was so incredible in service of others, and her poise was very something I yearned to absorb more into my being and work on that for myself. Kitty's selflessness was so intense that one day I decided to stalk her in Dilruba and see if I could find Kitty in a selfish moment. So everything she did, I would just sort of walk behind her, or I would listen to what she was saying, and I tried to catch her. And the whole day, I could not find one moment of self-absorption. She was always there again, in service of others. And so enthusiastically, of course. Margaret's powerful, total dedication with great humor and charm inspired me. And I remember that that Herbert Davy had said to Baba, "Isn't Margaret beautiful?" And Baba said, "Margaret has charm." She was charming. She was such a charming person. One of my favorite passages that I thought would be nice to finish is from a visit that Kitty and I made together. I helped her get to the Southeast Gathering years ago, I think it was 1984. And she wanted to go to a Ward Parks workshop. And after Ward's presentation, somebody asked Kitty if she felt she had reached the point of love that we were discussing, of feeling love for everyone and everything, that omnipresent praise and awareness of Baba and his love in all things at all times. That state to which we are all aspiring. I watched fascinated as Kitty really took this very intimate question deeply into her being. She didn't answer for a long time. Everyone was very quiet. Finally, she stammered that she had never really thought about that before. Then, thinking very deeply, she slowly said, "I don't really know. All I know is that I am always trying to please Baba, to think what would please him." Her answer was so honest, so simple, so uncosmic and unmystical. It revealed to me the essence of the nature of the spiritual life. She's thinking first of what would please Baba constantly. It really affected me on a deep level. She went on to say how important and beautiful the word please is, how it is very necessary and desirable to try in our lives to please Baba and make him happy. She said Baba would never say thank you to something one of his lovers had done for him. He would only say he was pleased with one's love or pleased with what one had done. And I realized that 10 months after Kitty passed, she came to me in a very intense, kind of an early morning visit. And a few of us were following her through this landscape. And all when she turned around, and Lois and I were right there near the front of the line, and she looked at us very intensely, not angrily, but intensely, and she said, "What have you been doing to utilize the training I gave you?" And I kind of woke up and remembered, what are you doing to utilize the training I gave you? And so I called Lois, and she thought about it too. We were thought, Lois Brager. And so I decided to end the book, the Dilruba Days, my diaries of my years there, by listing what were these important attributes. There's not time to go over them, but I do have copies of it if anybody would like to have a copy. So, danger of occult involvement, focus and attention to detail. It's true. That must be very true. Poise. Do your best, then let Baba do the rest. Maintain a sense of humor. Anticipate the needs of others in service of others. Trust your own intuition and your own ability. Be punctual, which I was not, and so that was a continual lesson. Take your stand on the truth within. Go the extra mile in service, enthusiastically, cheerfully. Often memory training, so Kitty would say, I want you to remind me tomorrow about something. Sometimes you say, I want you to remind me next week about. And so, now we have these cell phones, we don't have to remember anything, right? It's all in the phone, right? But, it really was I found it really honed my memory in many ways that was very helpful. Okay, so resisting backbiting was a very important attribute. Let others help. Sometimes Kitty would ask others to take a job that I had done, and I had to be willing to stand back and not feel upset that somebody else had taken the job I thought was mine. Do not give so much of yourself away. I would often work very hard, and Kitty would tell me I had to spend more time quietly. Believe in yourself. You can do anything. One day I said something self-denigratorily about myself, and Kitty got really mad at me, and she said, there you go, saying something negative about yourself. You could do anything. You're very talented in so many ways. And I'm telling you this not as a kind of an ego aggrandizement, but just that all of us can do anything. If Baba wants us to do something, he will we'll do it, because he'll give us the wherewithal to do that. He'll help us. Make your life's work something that you love, which I was happy about with music. The greatest of these is love. So just love was the guiding force at Dilruba. Everything revolved around that great love. And as I end the book by saying, as I look back over my years at Dilruba, I have come to realize I wasn't working for Elizabeth, Kitty, and Margaret so much as being worked upon by Mayor Baba through them. The work goes on. So we're all, in the boat together, swimming along happily. And so I thank you very much. Thank you. Lois and I had assembled a little video selection of photos that we showed when we did a little talk last October at the meeting place. So I would love to show that now, if we could just, I guess, get the screen before the music. I'd love to share the video.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Oh, thank you. Okay. So this is the, okay, so Elizabeth Patterson. Where are you, Elizabeth? Was such a fabulous, amazing person. And Kitty in her younger years, Margaret Krask. This is a beautiful picture of, many of you have seen, this has Fred and Lois Brager, Ella, Kitty, Laura Delavine, and the, let's see, oh yes, here, I have to stop because that's important. Oh, stop.
Go back. Yeah. Excuse me.
Oh, wait, how do I do it? Okay,
Here, I can do it.
okay.
Oops.
Okay. I guess I could just let it go. There's, anyway, Kitty particularly, thanks anyway.
Sure.
Kitty particularly loved Dennis McCabe and Malcolm Clay, and one day, Kitty in her little kitty cart and I were driving around the center after Hurricane Hugo, and Dennis and Malcolm were helping remove big trees that had fallen in the center roads. And Kitty had in the past called Malcolm Paul Bunyan. And so I said, look, there's Paul Bunyan. And so Kitty said to me, oh yes, let's call him Big Bunyan and let's call Dennis Little Bunyan. That's at one of the birthday parties, Lois in the background, after one of Kitty's birthdays. Is it still going on? Let's see. And, okay, in the last, let's see, about a year, a little over a year after Kitty, before Kitty passed, these are two of her nieces came to visit, and they lived in Canada, and they were always coming to visit. Zilla on the left and Jenny, and who had both met Baba. And so Kitty was so happy to see her nieces, their mother was May, one of Kitty's older sisters. And that was Kitty's favorite old coat. One of the last times she went down to the beach for oops, an error occurred. Uh-huh.
I wonder what happened there.
I don't know. No, that's okay.
Should we try refreshing it maybe? Are you...
Okay, I guess so, yeah. Whoop. And then, you know, while this is going on, Kitty also was visited by relatives who had gone, okay, so here, this is Kitty and I after a walk one summer day. She would like to go to walks after getting up from her nap. And, thank you. Those nice earrings she's wearing, she gave to me as her bequest, which I'm wearing tonight. And this is Lois with Evelina, who worked in the kitchen, and Kitty would often come in to see what Evelina was cooking, and Lois, it must have been, looks like maybe Christmas time, because Lois is all spiffied up. And I've kept in touch with Evelina's family, and that's been a wonderful gift. Yeah, Evelina taught me how to cook cobblers the right way. And Kitty would often help her in the kitchen. Evelina would talk about that she worked for the Baba, that's what she called. She had helped feed the Baba. This was one of Evelina's birthdays. There's Barbara Katzenberg, Dana Ferry, myself, and Lois Brager. at Evelina's birthday party, who served Kitty and Elizabeth so beautifully and with great love. Oh, that's another, those of you who know, there's Emma. Do you see with her little namaste there? That's Emma Branch on the far left. Now she's a mom of 2 wonderful kids. And you can see Jane in the background. It's probably like Kitty's 99th birthday. She lived to be 100 and a half. And that's Zilla and Jenny, who were very, very sweet, loving. Yeah, it's interesting. Could you stop it for a minute? Sure. It may be dangerous to do so, but one interesting thing was that Kitty told me that Zilla was visiting, was a young 14-year-old visiting from Canada, staying with, with her grandmother, Kitty's mother, well, staying with the family, her auntie Kitty in London. And when Baba came in September of 31 and came to the Davy house, Zilla was sleeping, and Baba asked Kitty to take him to Zilla's room. And Baba put his hand on Zilla's head and said, "She has great work for me to do in the future," which was interesting to me because in this lifetime, she didn't consider herself a Baba devotee. I went to visit the family in Canada after Kitty died to get photos of Kitty. And Zilla, yeah, she liked Baba, but she didn't consider him her master. But it was interesting that Baba said she had great work for him to do in the future. Okay, so these people, great, okay. So these were relatives who had come from Bellingham, Washington, and they had gone to England to look for Davy material because they were Davies, and they didn't know that there was a Davy on their own continent. And the Davies in London said, "But did you know that Kitty Davy lives in Myrtle Beach?" So they traveled to Myrtle Beach and they met Kitty, and Kitty gave them a very long, they took notes about the family, which I used actually in my chapter about Kitty's early life. And so they were happy to find a Davy in America. Okay, so one Halloween, we dressed up as Kitty's kittens. And this is, as you can tell, sort of toward the end of Kitty's life, when she was probably maybe already 100 or 99 3/4. But she kept smiling, and that was important. Oh, yes. After Elizabeth passed, I came back into the house after Elizabeth Patterson's memorial service. I came into Dilruba with Kitty. Elizabeth had been very difficult with me, and nothing was right, and upset at me, and always finding fault. And I had finally even talked to Margaret Krask, who said, "Don't take it personally, Elizabeth is not feeling well." And then she passed a few months after that. But when I came back into the house with Kitty after Elizabeth's memorial, and I was so mad at Elizabeth because she had been sort of on me and nothing was right and everything I did was wrong, and I was very upset, and I was thinking, what am I going to do with this feeling about Elizabeth? It's hard to come back into the house. And as I looked at this portrait that was a copy of this, still from the '56 film of Baba planting the tree outside the barn, I saw Baba's hands gesturing like that. And I heard very strongly in my mind, that was how I was giving you my love. And all at once, all the anger and all the frustration just totally melted, and all I could feel was thankfulness for everything Elizabeth had given to me. So that's the story behind that photo. I think that's it. Yeah, thank you. Going back to where?
The one of Elizabeth and Mara. That was close to the beginning.
Let's see, so all the way back at the beginning? Well, you know, that's one that didn't, yeah, that's, the problem was that was kind of not, didn't, it went off the screen. Let's see.
It's stopping things very quick.
Oh dear, I didn't mean to do that. So how did that happen? It's Margaret. No, oh, there was a, oh, stop. There was a visit that they were both go back in India. I think it was 1975. And I wish I could show you the whole, I don't know how to do that. How we do, how, could you make it smaller? Let's see. Okay,
About as, or zoom in, you mean? Or?
yeah, go back so that it's,
I'll
the
go
whole
back.
thing is smaller, I guess.
That's as far
That's
as it goes.
as far as it goes, so. But isn't that a beautiful?
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful photo of them. That's a wonderful photo to end on. Thank you. So I guess we can just do that? Yeah. the birds were helping. And thank you so much for your help. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. I would love to start this musical part of my sharing with you. A song that many of you know was a very special gift from Baba to me. Some of you know this story, that in later years when Elizabeth Patterson was not driving anymore, she would ask if any of us who worked at Dilruba would take her to church. She went to the Methodist church downtown every Sunday. And so I was happy to be one of the drivers. And one day when we were sitting there, me sitting beside her, marveling that here was a disciple of the living Christ sitting quietly in this church, that would overwhelm me often, sitting next to her. A young woman who had been brought in as an assistant minister, who was very full of fire for her love for Jesus, and she got up to preach a sermon, and the older, about to retire male minister, introduced her, and she gave a very fiery sermon, and then she said, "And now I'd like to sing a song." And she sang this song of the soul. And of course, the chorus goes, many of you know it, "Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along?" I was the only one who knew it because we used to sing it at the center. So I was sitting there trying not to sing this song, but I was humming, and at the end of the sermon and the singing, and we were driving home, and I was happy that Elizabeth turned to me and she said, I see that you know that song, dear. Yes, we sing it at the center. She said, "Would you sing it for me?" So I sang it to her in the car as we drove home, and that she liked it so much that after that she would ask me, sometimes when I'd be working around the house or cleaning or about to make a meal or something, she would say, "Could you come out when guests were visiting and sing that song?" So this is the Song of the Soul, which many of you know is written by Chris Williamson. And if you know the chorus, please sing along. Open mine eyes that I might see visions of truth thou hast for me. Open mine eyes, illumine me, Spirit divine. Love of my life, I am sighing, I am not crying, I am dancing along. In the madness, there is no sadness, only the song of the soul. Let's sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Sing along, and we can sing for a long, long time. What do you do for a living? Are you forgiving, giving shelter? Follow your heart. Love will find you, the truth will unbind you, and give a song of the soul. Let's sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Come to your life like a warrior, nothing will bore you. You can be happy. Let it the light, it will heal you, and you can feel you, and sing out the song of the soul. Let's sing this song. Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. Why don't you sing this song? Why don't you sing along? And we can sing for a long, long time. And we can sing for a long, long time. And we can sing for a long, long time. So, over the last couple of years, I've been very involved in getting 2 grants from Beads on One String Foundation, gathering the 120 African American spirituals I collected in rural South Carolina 37 years ago, categorizing them, alphabetizing, digitizing the collection, and then a big concert at a black church, followed with a second grant last October. And I wanted to sing this spiritual because Kitty was very inspirational in this happening, this wonderful event happening. At a certain point after I had submitted the first grant with all the 120 songs to Beads on One String, and they were so happy with the collection, they said, please don't stop here, do something with it, put on a concert. And I had reached out to a black church, the people of whom were connected to my family, my mom's family out in rural South Carolina. But there had been a disgruntled retired member of that church who got upset, and that I was a white person, what was I doing, taking their, there was a sort of a bit of a rough stretch in there. And I was asking Baba, please help me figure out, because the Beads wanted, please put on a concert. And all at once I got a text from one of the relatives, a descendant of some of the women I had recorded, who had given me 50 fabulous spirituals. And she was so sweet and loving and helpful to me. And she wrote in this text, "You are doing God's work." And when I received that text, I remember my late husband Tom and I coming back to Myrtle Beach from rural South Carolina, moving back to Myrtle Beach, and I went to talk to Kitty, and she was so excited about the work that I had done collecting these spirituals, and she said to me, "You're doing Meher Baba's work." The minute Kitty said that, I applied for the second grant and received it and put on an incredible concert in a rural church, that was tremendously well received. One of the songs, so in sort of memory of Kitty's help in this, to me, that created this great effect of this wonderful celebrating a sacred legacy program in this black church, one of my favorite spirituals I learned from Miss Benjamin, who was 81. She sang it this way. Once you get the hang of it, please join me. Come by here, dear Lord, come by here. Come by here, dear Lord, come by here. Come by here, dear Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Somebody needs you, Lord, come by here. Somebody needs you, Lord, come by here. Somebody needs you, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. And somebody's praying, Lord, come by here. Somebody's praying, Lord, come by here. Somebody's praying, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Somebody's in trouble, Lord, come by here. Somebody's in trouble, Lord, come by here. Somebody's in trouble, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. So come by here, good Lord, come by here. Come by here, good Lord, come by here. Come by here, good Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Oh, Lord, come by here. Thank you. So I thought, what would be an appropriate song for Margaret Krask? So I've got an Elizabeth favorite, and that was my kitty inspiration song. I set a Rumi poem to music, and it's called Dance. Dance if you're broken open, dance if you've torn the bandage off, dance in the middle of the fighting, dance in your blood, drown in his love, dance when you're perfectly free, dance when you're perfectly free, dance when you're perfectly free. Struck, the dancers hear the tambourine inside them. Maybe you don't hear the tambourine inside you, or the leaves clapping time. Close the ears on your head that listen only to lies. There are other things to see and hear inside you. Paradise, we are
as an infant at the breast. Drink that tambourine inside you, inside your chest. Drink that tambourine inside you. It's sparkling gold, there's dance music and a brilliant city inside you, inside your soul. So dance if you're broken open, dance if you've torn the bandage off, dance in the middle of the fighting. Drown is love. Dance when you're perfectly free. Dance when you're perfectly free. Dance when you're perfectly free. Because just a few days ago it was Mara's reunion day, I'd love it if you would sing with me the song that, Mara wrote a song with Mani called Meher Baba, Lord and Friend. And an interesting note about that is that I got a request from Mara and Mani that they would like me to sing these two songs, Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, and Mani's song, Baba, Meher Baba, My Heart is Calling You, on a record that we were going to make in Nashville in 1973, or was it 73, and so the music was sent and I was practicing it, and somehow Elizabeth Patterson heard about it and she called me to her office and she said, I don't know if this is such a good idea because Mara's been in such strict seclusion and maybe this is not a good thing that a song by Mara be put onto a record that many people can hear. And so I said, well, let me write to Mara and Mani, and I asked them, and Mani wrote back and said, Mara really wants this song on the record and the song that I wrote. So I felt to be like it was some opening into another, maybe Mara's energy sort of coming out into the world more fully. So this is Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, and please sing with me if you like. Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, my beloved to the end. Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, my beloved to the end. You are my heart, my life, my soul. You are my all, my only goal. Jai, 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 Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, my beloved to the end. Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, my beloved to the end. Beloved, I am by your light. Your love sun makes my moon bright. Jai, 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 Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, my beloved to the end. Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, my beloved to the end. All day long for you I long, sing your name and your love song. Jai, 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 Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, my beloved to the end. Meher Baba, Lord and Friend, my my beloved to the end. Though my heart weeps all the while, for your sake I wear a smile. Jai, 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 Meher Baba, Lord and friend, my beloved to the end. Meher Baba, Lord and friend, my beloved to the end. Your dear pleasure is my joy. Mine is not to question why. Jai, 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 Meher Baba, Lord and friend, my beloved to the end. Meher Baba, Lord and friend, my beloved to the end. You play the perfect game, shape my heart into your name. Jai, 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 Meher Baba, Lord and friend, my beloved to the end. Meher Baba, Lord and friend, my beloved to the end. Make me, Lord, your song of praise. Fill all hearts with your dear grace. Jai, 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 Meher Baba, Lord and friend, my beloved to the end. Meher Baba, Lord and friend, my beloved to the end. So one of the great gifts Baba gave me in this life was that Mara decided she wanted me to learn some Mira bhajans and some of Baba's Huma songs. And so she had me come back to the parlor, and she took out the Victrola and she played me these songs on records, and then had me tape some of them and learn them, and then she would, have call me in and have me sing them, which was always, but I somehow made it through. And one of the songs that I really love is a song that Baba wrote, which many of you may know, and please sing if you do. Ishtiyake, which Baba dictated in 32 or 1933. He told Khorshid to sing this first whenever they sang in Nasik. When the intensity of love reaches its limit, then, that's a good timing. Very intense. When the intensity of love goes beyond the limit, then right before your eyes, the one with infinite glory will manifest. What shall I tell you, O my heart? What will happen when you cross the limits of love? You will become the inheritor of truth, and from his slave, you will become God himself. Yesterday he came and whispered in my ears the secrets that are hidden behind the curtain. And what was the secret? He told me that I will become yours the moment you become mine. Ishtiyake shok jabad Sei siva ho jayega. Ishtiya ke shok jabad. Sei siva ho jayega. Samane ako ke voka. Na Javanu maho jayega. Samane ako ke voja. Vanu maho jayega. Kya kahun hai dil ko diko. Kara tu kya ho jayega. Kya kahun hai dil ko diko. Kara tu kya ho jayega. Vasileya ka bande. Se kuda ho jayega. Vasileya ka bande. Se kuda ho jayega. Kano meha karke voke. Gaye mujhe parade ki baat. Kanu meha karke voke. Gaye mujhe parade ki baat. Mai tera ho jaunga jab tu mera ho jayega. Mai tera ho jaunga jab tu mera ho jayega. Ishtiya ke shok jabad. Sei siva ho jayega. Samane ako ke voja. Vanuma ho jayega. Don't you think Baba's the best composer of all? This, I'm going to switch gears. This is a very different kind of a song. Okay. So I went through a phase of setting Rumi poems to music, and this is my, what would you call it? I call it my jungle song, because the chorus, the words of Rumi that I use as the chorus: stop hunting, step on his net. Stop hunting, be caught by God. So I thought, well, we should start and end with jungle sounds. So I would like it if you would help me be a jungle. A beginning and an end jungle. In one of my jungles, a couple of years ago, somebody all at once went, moo. Stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, follow God, and stop hunting. his net, stop hunting, be caught by God. And stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, follow God. And stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, be caught by God. Put your cheek against this drunken cheek, forget anger and men playing war. When I hold out silver coins, take them, give me a cup full of gold light. And stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, follow God. And stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, be caught by God. You can open the wide door of the sky, surely you can open me. All I have is this emptiness, give it a nickname, divine beloved, Meherana. And stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, follow God. And stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, be caught by God. Breaker and healer, break and heal me. Nutcracker, here, break me open. There is that in me that has to be told 50 times a day. To stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, follow God. And stop hunting, step on his net, stop hunting, be caught by God, be caught by God. Meherana, dear beloved, be caught by God. Meherana, caught by God. Meherana. It seems like there are so many wonderful singers, songwriters in our Baba community, and I thought it would be fun to sing some that we all know and love that would be fun to sing together. Let's see. Do you know this one? Please let me know that you're the stream that in me flows, and help me know that you're the breath that in me flows. Please let me know and let me live as you have lived, and let me give as you forgave, and let me love and be your slave to 10 creations sleeping babe, and let me know that you're my heart, you're my soul, you're my way, and you're my goal, and you're my goal. And oh, please let me share in your life since you were here. Help me as you have lived. Help me give as you forgave. Let me love, be your slave, to tend creation's sleeping pain, and let me know you're my life, you're my soul, you're my way, you're my goal, and you're my goal, you're my goal. On the river of my tears, through the forest of my fears, in the valley of my shadows and my sorrows, only one thing has been clear in this darkness of my years, that wherever you would take me, I would follow. I love you now, I will hold to you somehow, even though you break my heart again. Your love goes on, though my world has come and gone. I will love you now till the end. Oh, the walls have seemed so high, the distance is so wide. Let these strangers in my heart all disappear. Oh, make me free to be with you in the way you want to. Take my heart, take my life, take my tears. I love you now, I will hold to you somehow, even though you break my heart again. Your love goes on, though my world has come and gone. I will love you, I will love you, I will love you, I will love you now till the end. Well, that made me very happy because lights going on and off. That's how I came to Baba. So I think that's a perfect time to say thank you, Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Thank you, Baba. Thank you. Baba, thank you. Is it? Okay. Okay. It's wonderful to be here and feel Baba's love so strongly. It's been such an inspiring weekend. So thank you, Baba, for this camaraderie and the wonderful vibes. Baba vibes. I'm so happy. I have had the most incredible good fortune. Oh, now if this were Tom, he would say, "Thank you for the vodka." Thanks, Christy. I've had the most incredible good fortune collecting African American spirituals 37 years ago in rural South Carolina. And it really has been this incredible journey because 2 years ago I got a grant from Beads on One String, organized the 120 spirituals that I had collected, digitized them with Phil Ludwig in Asheville, and categorized them, sent them to the Beads, who loved the collection and said, "Please don't stop here." And I put on a big concert in a black church outside of Sumter last October. That was this beautiful, love-filled experience. And I really have been so excited to announce that the collection has been given to the Caroliniana UNC Caroliniana Archival Library, and they're finally going to put this collection online so it can be accessed, and all of you can listen to these 120 spirituals, which are just incredible, really beautiful. And one of my favorites is "You've Got to Move." And Mrs. Curtis was 82, and her daughter, Mrs. Holland, was, I think, in her 50s. And I think you'll enjoy singing along once you get the hang of it. You've got to move, you've got to move, you've got to move, you've got to move. Oh, when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move, 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 you've got to move. Oh, when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move, you've got to move. You may be lame and cannot walk. You may be dumb and cannot talk. But when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move, you've got to move. You've got to move, you've got to move, you've got to move, you've got to move. Oh, when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move, you've got to move. You may be high, you may be low, you may be rich, you may be poor. But when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move, you've got to move, you've got to move, you've got to move. You've got to move, you've got to move. Oh, when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move, you've got to move. You may be old, You may be young. You may be weak, you may be strong, but when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move. 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 Oh, when the Lord gets ready, you've got to move. 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 And you know, it's funny, I'm just remembering that as I started to sing it, I don't know if any of you, any of you remember David Barrison? David was in a hospice, part of a hospital in Conway, and he was dying. And Tom and I would go and visit him and sing. And I stood by his bed and started singing You've Got to Move. And all at once I looked over, and in the next bed in his room was an African-American man who had amputated legs and was dumb. And I was singing, and he was like, you may be lame and cannot walk. You know, you may be dumb and cannot talk. I don't know, I'm just remembering this singing for David and this man who was sitting there weeping as I was singing that song. Oh, golly. Let's see. Stay in the field. This has a special meaning because when Terry and, Danny, the son of Terry and the McGuire son, Jeff, and thank you. Yes, thank you. When their son Danny was in that state where he wasn't passed yet, but he was, I don't know, whatever you call that state he was in, I sent him a number of these spirituals. I sent him a little, I think that might have been a cassette I sent him. And Stay in the Field was one of them. And he told his parents that this was, through his sign language or whatever he was able to communicate, that this was his favorite. Stay in the field, fighting till the war is ended. And I feel the field to me is the inner jihad against the lower self. Stay in the field, stay in the field, stay in the field, fight until the war is ended. Stay in the field, stay in the field, stay in the field, fight until the war is ended. I'm in the field, Lord, I'm in the field. Fight until the war is ended. I mean to fight until I die. Fight until the war is ended. Stay in the field. Stay in the field. Stay in the field. Fight until the war is ended. We're in the field, yes, we're in the field. We're fighting till the war is ended. We mean to fight until we die. Fight until the war is ended. Stay in the field. Stay in the field. Stay in the field. Fight until the war is ended. Fight until the war is ended. Fight until the war is ended. And as I was sitting here listening to Ursula's wonderful presentation, thank you, Ursula. Alan Talbot and John Foreman were sitting there, and John leaned over and he said, you're always, talking about your mother's side and your, the South and the spirituals and your illustrious relatives and all this, but you never talk about your wonderful father. So I thought it was maybe time to say something about my dad. I hadn't planned this at all, but my dad was an Austrian Jew who was a very successful artist in Vienna, and he just barely got out of Vienna in 1938, and his escape story is incredible. Baba saved him, and he came to America and met my mom at Black Mountain College outside of Asheville, which is a whole wonderful story. And so anyway, I had a wonderful dad. And so I thought, on the spur of the moment, Ursula, you want to sing it with me? I'm the only German song that I can think of at the spur of the moment. Guten Abend, gute Nacht, mit Rosen bedacht, mit Näglein besteckt, schlupf unter die Deck. Morgen früh, wenn Gott will, wirst du wieder geweckt. Morgen früh, wenn Gott will, wirst du wieder geweckt. Guten Abend, gute Nacht, von Englein beragt. Something about die Christkindleinsbaum, schlaft nun selig und süß. Traumsparadies, schlaft nun selig und süß. Schlaf nun, gute Nacht. I wasn't planning to sing that, but I had a wonderful dad. I thought I'd want to sing a song for Tom, my wonderful hubby, who passed away a little over 4 years ago. This is one of my favorite. It's actually an old. It was in Irish. You know, it was in the Celtic language, and it's a very old Irish melody. Let's see. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me save that thou art. Thou my best thought by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom and thou my true word, I ever with thee and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, I thy true child, thou in me dwelling and I with thee one. Riches I heed not, or man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only first in my heart. High King of heaven, my treasure thou art. High King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's joys, oh bright heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, O ruler of all. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art, thou my best thought, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. This is a setting I made of a beautiful number of paragraphs that I read and was so inspired by in Mera Meher, about Mera. Mera didn't like being called Meramai because she said, I'm not a mother, I'm not, don't have children, why are you calling me Meramai? There was an appellation for Mera, a name for Mera that Baba did approve of. One day in Guru Prasad, Mera was serving Baba his lunch. Bayram's wife Perrine was talking with Baba, and when she said something about Mera, the words Mera, Radha, slipped out. Baba stopped her and said, say it again, say it again. So Perrine felt happy that she had come up with a name that Baba liked. Once at Merazad in the late 60s, Baba was standing at the table drinking water. The others had just gone out. Mera was alone with him. Suddenly Baba asked her, when did you first love me? Mera answered, Baba, I loved you. That's why I came to stay with you. But staying with you day by day, I loved you more and more. Baba said, I loved you the very first time I saw you. That very first day, I recognized you as my Radha. Baba had spoken of Mera as his Radha many times before. One day, Baba pointed to a picture of Radha and Krishna in his room and remarked, Radha loved Krishna so much, but this time the avatar is even luckier. Mera loves me more than Radha loved Krishna. Baba once told Chandji that Mera was the combination of the devotion of Mera and the divine love of Radha. When David Fenster related this to Mera, she commented wistfully, it was very sweet of Baba. I love Baba very deeply. All my love is only for Baba. I gave my heart to Baba. Even that was not enough. I try to love him more and more. He is worthy to be loved, infinitely worthy to be loved. I love Baba very deeply. All my love is only for him. Love him more and more, more and more and more. He is infinitely worthy to be loved. Love him more, more and more. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Mera Radha, Baba Mera, Meher Baba, Meher Baba. I gave my heart to sweetest Baba, but even that was not enough. Love him more and more, more and more and more. He is infinitely worthy to be loved. Oh, love him more, more and more. Meher Baba, Meher Baba, Meherana, Baba Mera, Meher Baba, Meher Baba, love him more, love him more. I think maybe I'll just add some more song. I had the good fortune, Mara invited me back to learn some songs. You know, she took me to the Victrola in the parlor and ramped it up and put on some records and had me record some of these Chiquita Roy, Mira Bhajans, and some of Baba's songs, and then I would have to come back and sing them for her. So this is one of my very favorites, and it's in Persian, and it has a fabulous translation. Of course, Baba, yes, I forgot to tell you that Baba wrote this song. And the translation is, although I am a sinner, I am so fortunate. Oh God, I am such a poor, helpless stranger in this world. Have mercy on this helpless beggar. I am trapped in your love, O God. There is no one else comparable to you. Gunakoram valikan kushnasibam. Gunakoram valikan kushnasibam. Gudavanda garibam basagaribam. Gudavanda garibam basagaribam. Gunakoram valikan kushnasibam. Gunakoram valikan kushnasibam. Rahambar halein miskin katakun. Rahambar halein miskin katakun. Ke darish ke taman yakata asira. Ke darish ke taman yakata asira. Gunakoram valikan kushnasibam. Gunakoram valikan kushnasibam. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to share Baba's love through music. Thank you, Jai Baba. What's?
Since Baba's the White Horse Avatar,
Say that again?
I think the Ride on King Jesus would be a very good song. You know Ride on King Jesus? By Mary Anderson sings it. Ride on.
Ride on, King Jesus, no one can hinder thee.
No man
Can hinder thee, yeah, ride on, King Jesus, ride on. I don't know it that well to sing it for you tonight, but I really like that song.
Now, I have a question. So it's nice that you mentioned your father's name. So, Father, what was his name?
Baba, what?
What was your father's name? Your dad. Your father's name.
Oh, my father's name?
Yeah.
Oh, Robert Haas. Robert Haas, he was, yes, wonderful. Kitty of my dad, she said, he's right there. He doesn't know it, but he's right there. Because he was a lover of beauty, you know, truth, love, purity, and beauty, to penetrate into the essence. And people who are artists and love beauty, that's Baba, Mm-hmm. Yep. So some of his favorite sayings, when he would say you'd have to kind of get a stiff upper lip, he would say, "You've got to gird your lions." Instead of loins, he would take the O and the I, and we've got to gird our lions. What's that?
That could be hazardous.
I know, gird your lions, I know. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for letting me share about my. Thank you, yeah. Thank you, Jai Baba.